Hello and welcome to Pain in the Arts, the podcast about the arts and creative sector in Wales, where we talk about the good, the bad and the why did I choose this career moment. I am broadcaster Chris J. Birch and
I am Jack Ruth Birch, artist, writer and editor for the Edit Wales. Each week we break down what's going on in the arts, creative, music sector, galleries, all that fun stuff, as well as answering some of your creative dilemmas.
And if you work in the arts, if you want to work in the arts, or if you just love it from afar, welcome, you're in good company here. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you are watching this rather than listening at the moment, you will notice a fantastic addition to our set here.
Yeah, which makes us serious now. I feel like a news anchor.
Yes, I know. And it's like, I just haven't got paper. And, we could do this.
Yeah.
This rattling.
Yeah.
Which would mean nothing if you're listening rather than watching at the moment. Anyway, yeah, actually, on the note of this, what I am holding at the moment is the Manifesto for Music Wales by the UK Music, because we have just come fresh from that event that just took place.
We have indeed. We have to leave a little bit early so we could get here in time to record this episode.
Yes.
But,
what do you think?
I thought it was great. It's nice to see that the music industry as an individual, if you take it out of the creative industries in general, is being taken seriously in Wales. Like I'm working on an article at the moment that has taken me quite a while to get to the point of writing, which sort of expresses our link between Welsh art and culture and how it's so entwined as one thing. And they reference that perfectly in their manifesto in regards to music. So it was really interesting to see it from just a soul perspective, and all of the support and the people that were in the room there. It was great.
Yeah. They've got, I just want to touch on, they've got 5 key points, which I think is incredibly important. They've got grow Welsh music through smart public investments. I mean, some of these are kind of obvious, aren't they? But sometimes they do need to be written down and said.
Yeah.
There's bring down barriers to exporting Welsh music. That's incredibly important. Ensure music education is accessible to all. That is something that you have been banging the drum on for years.
Definitely. It shouldn't be something that is only for the elite or those who can afford lessons.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, did you do you did violin, didn't you?
I did do violin.
Who taught you violin? I feel like I need to bring this out into the open.
I also did brass for a little bit as well.
Oh, so didn't we all?
I dabbled in lots of different instruments when I was in school.
One
never actually stuck. But I think the reason for me that they never stuck was because my parents were reluctant, or my mum was reluctant to pay for an instrument, so I was always using the borrowed ones. Because I may not have stuck at it, and it is a big risk and a big investment.
You know, like a brass instrument point of view. You know, the hill that I used to live on. So there's this incredibly steep hill in Bargoed, and the school is at the top, and I lived at the bottom. I had to carry for 3 years I don't even know what it was called. It was like a horn, but it was a huge brass instrument that I used to have to bring to school. I never forget, every Wednesday morning, I'd be lugging that thing up the hill and then back down the hill. No wonder I didn't stick at it. We just needed lockers in school. But hey, there we go. I digress. The 4th one was ensure AI policy supports homegrown creativity. That's something we covered here not even last week, I believe.
There is a lot at the moment going on with AI in the music sector, where it's obviously the AI is taking from copyrighted music without paying the artists, acknowledging the artists, referencing them at all. And it shows how the Welsh government in particular needs to put more legislation in place to protect artists and their work.
I think, but interestingly, I do acknowledge that when the chair of the UK Music was chatting during that moment, that he did say, look, we're bringing this into place because of the upcoming Senate elections. We would like to make sure this policy is put into place. We recognise that the Welsh government has very little power when it comes to these things, but it has massive influence in that sense. And I think that's what we need to ensure. I mean,
we need advocacy. We need advocacy.
That's
what we need, really. And, without getting too political, Wales is in the midst of an upcoming election, and it looks like it could go in multiple different ways. And I think in Wales we've had a very comfortable place, really, where we've always had the same political party in power in our Senate, and that could change in the next election. So we are in unknown territory, if I can put my teeth in the creative sector. So I think a lot of people are very nervous because we don't know what we're going to be getting and how we're going to be supported and advocated for.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, I just wanted to touch on as well, again, not getting too political, but Reform released their manifesto last week at I believe it was the ICC. And just to make sure, I did dump it into Copilot, which is an AI bit of software.
Look, you use it as a tool. It's a great tool.
It is a
you
great
use
tool.
it to steal from artists and it loses all its validity.
This is exactly it. But I dumped it in there because I read it and thought, is there something, there's nothing on arts and the creative sector. And I just said, Copilot, is there anything that I'm missing here? Is there a clear link in the manifesto? And it did say that there is no direct reference to the arts and creative sector
when you
in that
see
manifesto.
Things, especially like in this manifesto here, when you see how much it brings in revenue and tourism, for them to have not even referenced it in their manifesto, it speaks volumes, and it does present a bit of an issue.
That is point number 5, is use music to drive Welsh tourism. That is a huge thing.
Yeah.
I mean, of course. I mean, we've not only just, you were talking about, at that event, you were talking about is it Depot in the Park?
Yeah.
Those
or we had Tom Jones in the castle, and that's absolutely, the city was a buzz all weekend when he was here for that. And it just, we have such well-known musicians, we are the country of song. And not just the musicians that are from Wales, but when we have people come here to perform, it usually creates a buzz, and you bring people from places like Bristol and just over the border and places like that, and I think we are known as the land of song, and so for us to be recognising our music talent is really important.
But not only that, we bring in an absolute ton of money. Let's be fair. I mean, I'm not going to linger on this too much longer, but it does say the music tourism to Wales from home and abroad brought in 834,000 visitors, 3,650 jobs, and £384 million to the economy. It says that in this book.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show that then this is talking about not just modern music, but classical music as well. So, and I suppose that leads quite nicely on to, I don't, for some reason, maybe you've been living under a rock the last week, that you haven't seen the viral moment where Timothy Chalamet referenced that nobody cares about opera and ballet.
Now, I heard this third hand, right? You've mentioned it.
I've seen the interview firsthand, where he just out and out said it. You can tell he then tries to backtrack. Matthew McConaughey was also on the same sort of interview sofa area. At the same time, he agreed with Timothy Chalamet. But you know what, though? I think it's done something so amazing in his stupidity. What it has done is it has forced people to stand up and go, I like opera. I like ballet.
I love opera.
You've had contemporary artists like Doja Cat come out and say how stupid he was for saying that, and how much of an uneducated point of view that is, to not even be able to recognise that. Well, I think she said people aren't going to watch Wonka in the cinema dressed up. People make an effort and dress up and go to things like the opera and the ballet, and it still feels like a special moment to go and see these things.
Absolutely.
I think so many people recognise that these classical arts are where the modern movements were rooted. And you need to, one of my lecturers in university used to say to me, you need to learn the rules before you can break them. So a lot of these people do have training in classical arts to then move on and go into other areas.
This is it.
A lot of them stay in it, rightly so, because that is what they're good at, but a lot of people move into other areas. And I think it's important that we recognise, in things like this manifesto as well, that we recognise that the portion of the money that's being brought in and the tourism that's being brought in is because of things like the Welsh National Opera and more classical versions of the arts very much have a place in modern society.
Like Welsh National Opera. I mean, we saw those earlier at this launch, and it's music for the soul. I mean, it just opens you up, and you just feel very fulfilled after listening to it. But not only that,
you're forced to concentrate. You're forced to really submit to that art form. Really. Yeah, we were listening to a piece by the Welsh National Opera. I was so ingrained in it that when the man behind me started clapping, he shot up his feet because it just went to a different.
But
point.
I will
He was quite
say,
a loud clapper. I will say
quite a loud clapper. it was like a firework went
We
off.
cupped hands as well, so it kind of echoed through the
Yes.
space as well, and it did startle me a little bit and make me jump because I was so invested in
Yes.
them and that piece, and
Yeah.
it was really lovely. I don't get to see enough opera and classical music, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think that is something I'd love to see more.
Yeah, definitely, and I think things like this and you know, this sort of point in time where these things are being said and discussed at the moment, it's bringing that conversation to the forefront, which I think is really important. But
I will say as well, just on that point, opera and ballet teaches, if it starts early enough, it teaches children discipline when it comes to the form, and it teaches them fantastic amounts of athleticism. Especially when it comes to ballet, but also when it comes to opera, especially if you're using a wind instrument, because it teaches you breathing exercises and all these sorts of things. These subtle things that get introduced as part of learning ballet or learning opera, and then you take that with you for the rest of your life. So no, I think it's very short-sighted to have that opinion, and for that opinion to be said by somebody in a very who is probably in the zeitgeist at the moment, and who can say these things, and they can have a big ripple effect on a generation potentially that would see that person as a reference point. And so yeah, I do think it's a bit short-sighted, but hey, there we go. That's why people like you and I exist.
it ain't exactly. But besides the general sort of chitter chatter out there in the world, we've had quite a busy week as well this week, haven't we?
Quite a busy week. I mean, after we had Rialina here asking a question for last week's podcast, we sat in on her one-woman show. Well, it wasn't actually a one-woman show. It was introduced first of all
by supported by a big comedian called Reb,
Yes,
who instantly got a follow on Instagram from me because they were hilarious. I can't wait to see their career grow.
Yes, I think they are going to be they're going to be on lots of shows and lots of touring very, very shortly as an independent, because it was just an absolutely fantastic performance. So we were there. Was that Friday? Was that Friday?
Yeah, it was Friday night.
And the Cabaret Club. We're back in the Cabaret Club on and off constantly recently, aren't we? I don't know. We just seem to be invited there on a regular basis, which is lovely.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
It's a really versatile space.
Yeah. We did box.
Yeah.
While we were at the Millennium Centre.
Horn, they're called.
Yes.
Yeah, really great. And it was all very within my what sort of time of life, wheelhouse style thing. It was really great. I won't give too much of it away, because I do think VR are one of those things that you need to experience it.
Yeah.
To know what it is.
I will say, box as a thing is just essentially just a room, isn't it? With lots of VR. Yeah, it's a box. Yeah, it's a VR room where you can sit or stand or wherever it is, and we've seen quite a few productions there.
Yeah.
And we've also seen VR be put on in certain other studios. But in this room, you're sat in a chair and you put this headset on. And do you know what I would love to see at the moment? It's people who are your and my generation and younger. But what I would love to do is take someone like your nan to it.
Yeah.
And just pop a headset on, and just, because you are sat in a chair, and just immerse, because it is a fully immersive experience. I mean, there's sound.
Well, you can't pick your phone up and scroll if you're bored or anything. You have to submit to it and be along for the ride type thing. Really.
Like 10 or 12 minutes long.
Yeah.
You know?
And the good thing is with VR is it does open up for different generations and for different accessibility needs and things like that, because we've been to see somewhere and we've had like full body suits on that sort of vibrate with you and you move
Wind
around
machines.
the space. Yeah. We've had ones where you literally just sit there and you've got a full panoramic 360 where you move around, and that had like poetry and things like that attached to it, and visuals and illustrations and music that had all been made for that piece. The one that we're talking about now, Haunts, that was a sort of a mixture. We were sat completely stationary. You had the headset and the music, so the visuals and the music were sort of as a piece, but then you did have a little, like, it almost reminded me of a Wii remote control.
Yes. Very early noughties.
Some things you were to interact with, like a phone, which would give you instructions or tell you what was coming next, or just to help immerse you in that world. So it was a really great thing to have, I think, in Wales.
Do you know what, though? I just think that it's very much thanks to the fact that the Wales Millennium Centre are quite clearly pushing VR
as an art form.
Yeah, because we get invited to all sorts of things, and a lot of these things are completely free to access.
This one we didn't get invited to,
No,
we
just
were just
turned up.
there in Wales Millennium Centre. We saw it.
Yeah.
And we thought, yeah, let's give it a go because that's a free
Yeah.
experience. Totally.
But I just think these, it's only because it's on our doorstep that we can access this so readily. But I do think it's going to become this huge art form in the future, and it's not even in the distant future. And I love the fact that this is on our doorstep and that we can access it pretty much instantly, and just see it evolve, because we saw that. The one that you're on about with the suit on, which was the repetitive beats.
Yeah.
That is probably up there as my favorite one. Not that Haunts
But
wasn't.
that was very immersive. That one, I would say that was the most immersive of all the ones we've done, and very involved in terms of what it is you have to do for it. So it's in no way a passive experience.
Absolutely not. No, but it was incredible, and I love the way VR is going, and I'm on board for this.
Yeah.
100%. But then we did that. We went to Hay on Wye.
We did. We went up to Helm White.
Dropped the parents off some stuff.
Yeah, we did a little bit of book shopping while we were up there, because why not? It'd be rude not to be in the town of books and not get a book.
Well, no, to be fair, we did say if you're gonna go, because you were a huge fan of books, so it's an excuse to just go up there and also drop off Mother's Day gifts to my mum. So drop those off. Just in case you're watching / listening to this at the moment and thinking, wow, have I missed Mother's Day? No, it is this coming weekend, unless you're listening way out of sync. But yes, Mother's Day, we decided to drop it in a little bit earlier.
And it was a live plant.
Yes,
So we didn't want to
hang on
risk
to it.
being the ones to keep it alive until the following weekend. But yeah, so we went up there, had a little bit of a wander around it. Hay on Wye Book Festival have just released their lineup. And their program for this year, which is quite exciting. Quite a lot of exciting people there. I'm going to pop together a little article on that.
Who are you looking forward to seeing? Just pluck a name.
I don't know. Do you know? I don't often. It's not an exclusive thing with me. I won't really go necessarily to watch people, or to listen to their talks. Sometimes I go to just purely soak up the atmosphere of being there,
Absorb the moment.
Yeah, sometimes if there's a particular author there whose book I'd like signed, I go there, buy their book, get it signed from them. And sometimes I think it's quite nice to just go up there and just speak to people who are there. I quite often will go into the bookshop there and I'll ask people why they're buying certain books, because sometimes I go up there with no reason to want to buy any books there, and I want my opinion to sort of be changed, or have an opinion of what I should buy. So I'll sometimes just say, oh, why are you buying that book? What's it about?
Yeah.
Which I think is quite interesting.
No, I'm looking forward to going up to the Hay Festival this year, and I do think that we did go up there. We've been up there for a couple of years now, haven't we? As part of the press sort of area and those sorts of things. So I'm looking forward to doing exactly the same thing.
Literacy is always something that I try to get more involved in as the edit goes on, really. And I think there's such a vast amount of Welsh authors doing such varied things, that it's something that is easy to get into, in and meet all those people. But it's also quite intimidating because there is such a big group. Like you're hosting a Q&A with Dr. Emily Garside on her new book that's coming out.
Yes. And I'm also hosting one this coming weekend on a Welsh BAFTA nominated short film.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that should be quite exciting.
It's a fully rounded circle going on here.
But we've been in Mean Girls this week.
I was going to say the only thing we're missing is theatre, but there it is.
Yeah, Mean Girls. We went to go and watch that. I enjoyed that. It's, to me, I always put things like Mean Girls and Heathers in the same category.
Yeah.
For me, I think I prefer Heathers.
I join you in that.
It's one of those things where I saw the movie before the musical, so the movie will always hold a specific place for me.
Yeah.
But then with Wicked, I saw the musical before I saw the movie, so I always prefer the musical over the movie. It's strange the way it works like that.
Yeah. I'd seen Mean Girls, the original film, but I hadn't seen the musical side of things on stage. But equally, from the flip side, so I prefer the film of Mean Girls. But for me as well, I hadn't seen Heathers whatsoever until I'd seen it on stage. So for me, Heathers on stage was phenomenal. And 100% a winner for me. And I would, if that came back around to Wales or anywhere near, I would be inclined to go and watch that.
Definitely. And we'd have to bring people with us, because after we left that last year, we did tell a lot of people it was definitely worth it.
And they missed out on it, and they had a bit of FOMO going on at the same time. While we're talking theatre, before we move on to anything else, we also did go and see Baby Brain.
Yes. With the one woman show with Kimberly Nixon.
Yes.
Wow, that was
Phenomenal. Yes.
And again, those types of productions are the things that really resonate with me, because I'm like, that was not big budget.
No.
That was not flashy with sets. It was a table and a chair.
Yeah.
And a couple of posters on the floor.
Yeah.
And a hospital bag. That was
Yeah.
it. That was it. It was really one of those things where it lets the writing and the acting shine for itself. And I sort of sat there at the beginning, not really sure when you enter a space, because this was in Porters, wasn't it?
Yep.
When you enter the theatre space in Porters, and it's quite intimate, and where we were sat to the side, we were practically on the stage or on the area where the play takes place, and you just sit there and you can see this table and a couple of posters for the NHS style posters on the floor and a chair. And you sat there and you're thinking, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
And it gives nothing away.
Yeah.
And it was one of those plays that really, like, it kept me engaged. It kept me concentrated. I wasn't slyly looking at my watch to be like, oh, when's this over? Like, I was actually quite sad when it was over, because I was like, oh my, I wish this could have gone on longer. I wish this could have been a feature film. That was really something special to me.
Yeah, and you can have a look at your review on that.
Yeah,
that's available now.
That is there. And I will say, that did then push me to then go and watch Under Saltmarsh.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, which Kimberly Nixon is in.
Yeah.
As one of our great Welsh actresses. So pushed us to go and watch that. So, yeah.
No, I enjoyed it. Are we? I think that's us wrapped for what we did this week.
I think so.
Shall we find out what our first question is?
Let's.
It's going to come up after this.
This episode is brought to you by Final Rentals, based in Cardiff. Final Rentals is a bold, fast-growing global car rental network seamlessly connecting travellers with trusted local car rental companies across 60-plus countries and more than 500 locations worldwide.
Final Rentals gives independent car rental businesses around the world global visibility and reach, while keeping their local expertise at the heart of every booking, giving customers more choice, better value, and the confidence of booking trusted providers wherever they travel.
Blending local knowledge with global scale, Final Rentals creates a car rental ecosystem that champions fairness, opportunity, and sustainable growth for both travellers and the businesses that they serve.
So to learn more, you can follow the link. It's on our socials. Okay, Jack, let's go with question number 1 this week.
So question number 1 this week comes from Laura.
Okay.
And she had asked, what type of adjustments do you see or wish you could see more of to include the disability community within the audiences of art performances?
Oh, deep conversation.
Yes. And this was the type of thing that these are the types of questions that I enjoy getting because they're the meatier ones. So I got that question. And I instantly went away and thought, right, I need to reach out to other people. And I need to get other people's perspectives. Laura, who wrote in this question, we know. So we know it from her perspective, from her point of view, with neurodivergent children and the barriers to access she experiences in the arts. But then I also reached out to a really great writer, Steph Bailey Scott.
Yes.
We'd seen one of their pieces. They work with Taking Flight Theatre. And we went and saw a production of theirs in the Sherman called Martha's.
Which was amazing.
It was in my top 2025 recap. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
To reach out to her about her experiences as a disabled person in the arts. And it was a really interesting conversation. And I think the thing that kept coming up the most was accessibility to the arts not being a special feature or a one-off or something that is just done for the sake of ticking a box.
Yeah.
You, as a disabled person and a disabled participant in the arts, need to feel considered.
Yeah.
That it's not an add-on, it's not an addition, it's not something that we bolted on at the end in order to make you feel like you can come and be a part of this experience. It's considered from its inception.
It's not a special one-time, this is the BSL version. It should be included.
Yeah.
Every indie performance, true indie performance that you and I have gone to see that has a BSL interpreter in the corner of the production has been it's been a standout performance, and it has been a 5-star every single time we've been to see it.
Definitely. And
Which
I think,
speaks volumes.
so before we ahead of us recording and answering this question, I obviously, like I said, I went ahead, did some research, spoke to some people that could give me a better perspective from their points of view within the disabled community. And I sort of pulled an article together on that. And I wrote an article out on the edit. You can read it. And it's called Who's in the Audience or Who Isn't in the Audience.
Okay.
Because it's the people that we are leaving out of our cultural society within the arts when we're not considering them. And I sort of looked into all of the different theatres and art spaces and creative venues around Wales and the things that they offer. And do you know what? One thing I can say is that the Riverfront in Newport, they do an excellent job of having information available on their website from the onset for primarily neurodivergent users of their space. And it's a PDF of what the building looks like from the outside, how you get there, if you get there by bus, what you will, and there's words, there's photos, you can get up and move around, here's where you can go if you feel like you need to leave the space. And it was honestly such a great tool and resource, and it's an easy tool and resource to put together and have available on your website, not hidden 3 or 4 pages into a PDF of their accessibility policy. It's there proudly displayed front and center. And this is something that Steph said to me. When you see that their accessibility aids are made proudly available and shown, you know that you are welcome in that venue. You know that you are considered.
Yeah. No, I think the only thing I would add to that, I mean, the Riverfront, fantastic example. It is a relatively new building, and not to get, I totally agree with everything you're saying, but just to give you a counterpoint to that, there are some organizations and there are some venues. We are very proud of our historic venues, most of them built by miners in 100+ years ago. And those buildings are now either locally listed or graded or something like that, which means that the external fascia of them or the principal structure of them can't be adjusted because of the grade 1 listing, grade 2 listing, locally listed, whatever it may be. Because of that, then you can't make certain adjustments to the building to make the building more accessible for a modern audience. And that's really, really sad. And I think what needs to happen when it comes to venues is local authorities really need to just get off their soapbox a little bit. And they really need to just say, look, we need to create these accessible spaces. We need to forego the aesthetic appeal of a certain portion of this building.
Well, it's not even down to aesthetics, to be honest, Chris. It's a lot of the times it's down to understanding what accessibility means and saying that you're an accessible building, but what that actually means is you need to go around to the side door, press a button, usually because we're in Wales in the pouring rain, and wait for someone to come and let you in or put out a ramp. It's not accessible. No. Accessible means you should be able to independently, on your own, access a space.
Just open the door.
So I don't think aesthetics even come down to it. I've seen really great examples of buildings, old buildings, that in order to make their buildings more accessible, have built glass boxes off the side of them and mix the modern and the old traditional buildings. And the new front of the building is what allows it to then be totally 100% independently accessible as a space. Yeah. So there aren't really many excuses in today's day and age, especially when so many art venues in Wales get public funding. And part of that, it means that they need to have not just ticked boxes to say that they've covered these things. They need to really consider these things, I think, because what we're seeing, the whole way through my research into this, it led me back to a question of why are we making theatre and artistic projects and then making them accessible to the disabled community? Why aren't we making them for the disabled community? And Martha's was a great example.
I was going to say that
was made for the deaf and the hard of hearing community. Us as hearing audience members had accessibility made for us.
Just to explain it a little bit, it was essentially a sci-fi alternative reality, which was that you as the audience were made aware that everyone in that society, as far as I remember now, was deaf and used BSL.
So the way that worked was that if you were born deaf, you were instantly fixed,
Yes,
heeled.
that's quite.
And
my apologies.
Martha's was the underground club where the people who didn't want to be healed went
Yes.
to
Yes, of
exist
course it was.
in themselves as they are. And it meant that the sign language portion of their communication was pretty much outlawed, so they had to do it in secret.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the play was in sign language in BSL. So we had
these sort of screens, didn't we?
Yeah, that gave us subtitles so that if we didn't understand BSL, which, unfortunately we don't to a great level, which is a shame really on our education system, but that's a totally different
A
conversation.
different podcast. That.
Yeah, we were able to follow what was going on. It was an accessibility that was made for us, and that to make sure that it was accessible to a full audience.
Yes.
But it didn't feel like it was something that was just chucked on at the end for our benefit. It was included and incorporated in the staging, in the set, and the design of it. And it felt so true to the world that we were being pushed into.
Yeah.
That it never really looked to me as an accessibility aid.
Yeah.
But I just think like we have so many opportunities to make things from a disabled person's perspective that would feel so fresh and innovative, like Martha's did, that left me thinking about it. Because I think, we saw that in summer?
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure.
we still talk about it
even
now.
by Christmas, it was still, as soon as I had to sit down and write my 2025 wrapped theatre that I'd seen, it was straight away at the front of my mind. So from my experience, it left me wondering, and through my research, it left me wondering and posing the question, why aren't we making more art and more theatre for disabled audiences instead of making it accessible for them, making it seem like that the accessibility for them is an additional extra. And Martha's is a great it was a great example of that, really, because what they did was they created a world where the cast were all deaf or hard of hearing, use some form of sign in BSL to communicate, and then the accessibility aid that was put for the hearing audience members was the closed captions that were on the screen. They were part of the set. It didn't feel like an additional extra. It felt like it was part of that immersive world.
Yeah.
And it was. We're talking about it now, and we saw it last year in the summer when I came to write my 2025 of theatre that I'd seen in Wales. It was straight away at the forefront of my mind, because it was just such a fresh take on a play, on a story of people within our community. And I just think that, so for me as a ceramicist, if I was to put this into an applied arts perspective, I send stuff off to exhibitions. Obviously, I hope it comes back in one piece. But I am more than willing to have pieces that I put in exhibitions that are tactile, that are there for audiences to touch and feel and experience in the way that they need to experience art in the world. So many people must have gone into the world of art, the world of applied arts, and want to touch something because it looks like something that they want to touch in order to further understand it or connect with it in the way that they need to connect with it, and know that they can't because they're told, no, don't touch. And that is very much that's a gallery exhibition space mentality. Look, don't touch. And I think for certain people within our community, touching things, smelling things, seeing things up close is very much part of the process of being in the space with the art. And I think we should have more things like that. If we had visually impaired and deaf artists, think of the things that they create that have to take into consideration sound and spatial awareness, and their perspective isn't just something that should be for them or for their community. We should be making things by these artists from the perspective of these artists and accessible to an entire audience. It's not a specialist thing. It should be the norm, I think, really.
No, I do completely agree. And I think because it's such a big topic to unpack, I think reading your article, we'll post a link to this over on our socials. I think it is worth unpacking it a little bit more. Perhaps we can revisit it in another couple of weeks. Maybe we can get a guest in to have a chat with us about it. I think that might be quite fun.
Definitely. I think so.
We'll have question 2 coming up straight after this. Okay, Jack, question 2.
So question 2 is a video question this week. Very exciting.
Okay.
I'm enjoying these video link ones, and it is from Helen Buchan.
What do you need from government to succeed?
Ooh.
Okay.
That in and of itself as well is a meaty question, and I feel like could be something that could also be an article as well.
Yes, I think
Or
that's
a
going to
book.
have to be. For me, I think it's advocacy and support in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I think that is irrelevant as to who gets into power. I think it's advocating for the strength of the arts. I mean, we just came back from this fantastic event that shows how much tourism, how much value, how much intrinsic value, and how much our culture is embedded in the arts and the creative sector. And
I
that's
think
what's
we need
needed.
to feel from our assembly members that they do take the arts as a serious thing.
Yeah.
They don't just say the buzzwords that need to be said in order to validate us. They show with actions.
Yeah.
And there are so many points, I think, really, and I think this would be a very interesting debate to hold.
It would.
With assembly members present so that they can hear it firsthand themselves.
Yeah.
We'd be very happy to chair that.
Yes, we would.
But I think, yeah, we need to, we see reports constantly about how much the arts and the creative sector in Wales bring in terms of revenue and tourism and what it contributes to our GDP.
Health benefits.
The health benefits of it, the intrinsic into our culture with it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see some actions from government that show that they actually recognise that. They don't just see us as people who are painting pretty pictures or doing a nice little monologue on a stage for some applause.
This is it.
And that's all we're looking for. It's so much more.
I also think that with more Senedd members coming in the door now at the next election, I think what we need to see is, rather than having a arts, culture and sport minister, it actually needs to be split out.
I've never understood why it's one person, because if you're good at one, you're just not going to be good at the other one. You're not going to be in with the other one. They're two totally different sectors. And that in and of itself devalues both of those sectors. Now, when you think you can love them together as one job, if we're adding more assembly ministers to the Senedd, then I think the very least we should be doing is splitting sport. It's definitely something we need to look into.
Yeah. Well, I think it is, as you say, it is a far, far bigger conversation than what we can hold here, especially when we're coming close to an election as well. We've got to be careful about what we say.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that one.
One thing I think, just to circle back to that I think is quite important as well, is we need to see the fair distribution of funding in the arts. There are too many organisations that hold too big a pots of money, and they don't actually have the staff and the knowledge and the resource base in order to correctly distribute those funds. You see the same places over and over and over receiving funds and not new emerging, coming different people within the arts, because they're not understood by the people who work in the industry. That is something that I think that the Welsh government really needs to look into when they're passing funding along the pots. They need to really think, are these the right people to be shelling out all of this different type of funding? Or do we need to break it down into smaller pots of specialities amongst other companies? Let new people come up and into the funding cycle and let new companies emerge in order to work with the arts and make sure that they are reaching the right demographic of people to be funded, supported and backed.
No, I do. I totally agree that. I totally agree with you there. I think that's fantastic. And we have had lots of questions around governance and policy and Senedd elections, that sort of thing. So hopefully this part of the way covers it. So thank you so much for those. If you've got a question for us, big or small, send us a message. You can do it anonymously on our website, or you can post a message straight to us on Instagram. Well, that is almost it from us this week. Just time for the community shout out. Have you got one?
We do indeed. The community shout out this week is taking flight. So I've been sent something very specific that I'm going to read from Steph Bailey Scott, who helped me answer one of today's questions about accessibility.
Cool.
So taking flight have an amazing opportunity for deaf, disabled and neurodivergent early career creatives. The Breaking the Box retreat is a paid opportunity between the 27th of April and the 1st of May in the Furnace Theatre in Llanelli. So the retreat will allow creatives to develop skills in performances, writing, stage combat, theatre design. There are opportunities to network with leaders in the industry, and it's a paid opportunity with additional contributions to travel and accommodation. BSL interpreters available all week, and a well-being team for additional accommodation if required. And you can go to the link in their bio to apply for it, or get in touch at admin@takingflighttheatre.co.uk to find out more. That sounds like a great opportunity.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It's
and a paid opportunity as well. You couldn't ask for anything more, really.
No, exactly. No, that sounds brilliant. We'll post a link to that over our socials.
Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant. Okay, so where are we going to be from Thursday onwards? This is the
I was just
question.
looking, so we've
I'm
got
just
quite a
thinking
lot
that.
coming up actually. So I'm going to head to the National Botanical Garden.
Yeah.
I want to check out some of, Nathan Wyburn has got his exhibition there of the stuff he did on the lead up to St. David's Day, but it's on for all of March in their exhibition space there. So I'm going to pop up, maybe do a little reel for socials on that.
We're down
Harry?
in the front, aren't we?
Yeah, we're in the river. Yeah, we are. We're down in the riverfront. We're going to go and see.
Is anyone else there?
Is anyone else there? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it's called. It's like a comedy serious play, I think. I don't know. I haven't read too much into it because I want to go into it completely unknown.
Yes.
I like doing that with those types of plays.
I'm going to enjoy it though. I just got a feeling in my bones.
Yeah. Harry, our music correspondent, he's heading over to Cabaret for One Hit Wonders.
Cabaret, and he's a correspondent at
He
Cabaret.
is. That'll make
now.
him sound very officially. I like that one. Tuesday, we're seeing Barnum at the Wales Millennium Centre.
We are,
which
yeah.
looks great.
Yes, yeah. I'm going to be looking forward to that one as well.
Sunday, you're hosting?
I am, yes. I'm going to be hosting a Q&A for a short film that has been BAFTA Cymru nominated. So that's going to be in Barry Arts Festival.
Oh. Wednesday, we are in, I feel like I'm your secretary, giving you your
I know, I was
breakdown of the
thinking
week.
that.
Wednesday, we are in Penarth Pier Pavilion to celebrate Folding Rock, who was one earlier, their first birthday, and that's in collaboration with Griffin Books, a local bookstore down in Penarth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thursday, we're in the Sherman for my mixed up tape.
Oh, I am looking forward to this. I chatted with Katie, who wrote my mixed up tape for the edit as an interview. So that's available. I'll post a link to that on our socials as well because she was fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
And then are you meeting this week with our TEDx street speakers?
I am, yes. All of our TEDx speakers I'm going to be speaking to over the next week or so just to hear the draft version of their talks for ready ahead of June the 3rd.
Oh, exciting.
It's going to be a good one.
Well, before we go, one thing I thought would be quite fun to do, just to open up to the world of people who maybe watch this podcast and don't necessarily work in the creative sector or even live with someone in the creative sector.
What can I do?
I've got a little prop down here, haven't I? That it's the world
Oh,
of...
you brought it here.
I did. So I went out on a little walk today and my creative brain was always whirring. And I walked past something and I thought, I like that. If I walk past that way on my way back and it's still there, I'm going to put it in my bag and take it home. I don't know why.
It's a dog. No.
Giant pine cone.
Yeah, why? Come on. Why?
Who doesn't want a pine cone that big?
I mean, if you're listening to this rather than watching it at the moment, it is a pine cone and it's got to be close on to a foot long.
And I love the texture, the colours. I'm like, what will I use it for? Will I just put it in a bowl as decoration?
Honestly,
like, wear it as a brooch?
The life of living was a great.
Who knows? I might end up impressing it into some clay.
Well, I mean, we'll stay tuned for that one.
Maybe it'll become part of the set. Maybe we can just like leave it here and it'll be there. There's our little +1. But put some goggly eyes on it. We can turn to it for advice.
If you'd like some advice from us, by the way, send us a message. As I say, you can do that over on our Instagram page. You can send us a direct message there. Or if you'd like to post anonymously, you can do that over on our website. All the details are in the socials. And if you like this podcast, you can see more of it. You can listen back. It's all available there for you on YouTube. It's there on Spotify. It's there on Apple Podcasts. Wherever you get your podcasts from is where you will find us. And we'll be back to do all of this once again next week.
Yes, so in the meantime, feel free, follow Pain in the Arts on Instagram, Facebook, all our social media outlets, or follow me, Chris the Edit. We're always keeping things fresh and up to date, and you can see what we're doing through the week of Welsh Creative Arts.
And we will be back next week for much more chaos and creative chaos at that.
Goodbye from us and the Pinecone.
Oh, what?